In this video, I'm going to show you how to make these snowy owls. They could be used as ornaments or just hang anywhere. Here are the supplies that you will need to make the owls. Instead of the sheet music, if you guys can't find that, you could just use newspaper, white or gray construction paper, any kind of scraps you have lying around. The small colored pieces of paper, really any colored construction scraps will work. I have a paper towel roll here, but I've also used toilet paper rolls. A pipe cleaner is good for the feet, yarn or string to hold them up, and yeah, you can also substitute. There's different things on this project I like to use the Elmer's glue for, or also the hot glue, so I'll show you both of those. Okay, the first step in the snowy owl is we are going to draw a curve on the top of your toilet paper roll. In order to do that, I kind of flattened out the corners here, and then you're going to take your scissors and just kind of cut away, trying to stay nice and neat along your curve. You don't want the head to look pointy, but nice and rounded. Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to put a string through, a string or yarn, something like that, put it right through that opening, and then put some liquid glue on the top to hold it closed. After you do the liquid glue, I'm going to come in with 2 paper clips to kind of hold it closed. You could also do this with hot glue and it would probably hold just fine. But since I want kids to be able to do a lot of the work themselves, I feel like obviously Elmer's glue is a lot safer. So I'm just going to put a little glue down in there, and then I'm going to pinch this together. You will have a little bit of that glue ooze out as you do this. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll just kind of clean that off and put it towards the inside, or just leave it. It's not going to hurt the paper clip. Put the paper clips on here. And I like to do 2, because if you just do 1, it kind of opens up on the corners a little bit more. So I do 2 that kind of crisscross like this to hold that glue closed. While the glue is drying here, now I'm going to work on the feathers. So I've torn out a piece of my sheet music and I've cut it into 4 strips like this. They're about, you know what, they're honestly not that even. These ones are a little bit narrower. These ones are about 2 inches. They could all be 2 inches, or you could do your upper 2 levels of feathers a little bit more narrow. As the feathers go up towards the top, I find that you have like a little bit less room to work. So like the rows of feathers on the bottom are a little bit thicker, and as they go towards the top, maybe a little bit skinnier. So I'm going to take these 4 sheets, I'm going to put them all one on top of the other, and I'm going to cut some detailed feathers on the bottom here. And so since I definitely want to cut all of those at the same time instead of having to cut it 4 times. It just saves a lot of work. Next thing I'm going to do, I was going to grab a ruler. You know what, I'll just use the edge of this book. So I'm just going to put the book right here, about 1/2 inch away from the edge that I'm going to cut. And I'm just going to draw myself a line right there. That line is where my feathers are going to stop so that I don't cut too deep into the sheet music. Then I'm going to pick it up. I'm going to try to make sure and keep all 4 of these lined up while I'm cutting. If I was doing this with kids, I might actually have them paper clip the edges just so they don't move. All right, now I'm going to start cutting pointy feathers on the bottom. I'm just basically going to cut out corners. So these little triangles should fall out, or you can pull them out, and that's going to be the shape of the feather that you see on the owl. So I'm cutting. I'm going to, now that you guys see how to do this, I'm going to go ahead and finish this. Pause the video for a minute so you don't have to watch all the feathers being cut, okay? Then I'll show you the end product. Okay, I just came up with another good idea while I was cutting these, especially with kids, to make sure that these pieces of paper don't move while they're cutting. If you just wanted to take a small piece of Scotch tape and put it on each end like this, just wrap it around. It's clear, you won't see it. It's acid-free, so it won't yellow over time. I'm just going to cap up this end, and then you'd be free to cut all your feathers, and then nothing would fall apart. Then when you're done, instead of even having to peel that Scotch tape off, you could just open it up and cut right here. And then the pieces will come apart just fine. I wouldn't bother with, like, you know, trying to peel the tape off and tearing the sheet music up. So now I have 4 different pieces of feathers, basically like this. What I do is I pick the prettiest side to go up, whichever side that may be. I'm going to put my biggest one on the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and glue these, even though my paper clips are still up here drying. I will go in sometimes and curl them beforehand, but honestly I think it's probably more necessary just to curl them afterwards. You just wrap them around any round object, kind of get them to do a little flip up or a curl. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a line of glue on the flat side of these feathers. So I'm going to put a thin bead of glue right along here. And I'm just gonna glue this guy around my owl. Sometimes there's a crease at the top, and I don't always like to see the crease, so I'll put the crease towards the back. And then when I'm gluing on the sheet music, I will also put the opening at the back, like where you're seeing the sheet music kind of overlap itself. Although it doesn't really matter. We are gonna do some finishing feathers over in the end. Sorry, I hope you guys can see what I'm doing here. Sometimes I get out of the picture frame and don't know it. All right, so there we go. Later on, you can curl and flip these feathers up however you want. I'm gonna do one more row, or not one more row. I'm gonna do another row, I should say, and I'm gonna glue it just a little bit higher and try and stagger the feathers so that the feathers aren't like one right on top of the other, because then you won't notice them as much. Ooh, I like this side. I think I'm gonna glue that side up. Put a thin bead of glue at the top. And I'm gonna do the same with these other 3 pieces, just gluing them. And each time you glue, just go up a little bit so that the feathers are staggered. We don't wanna obviously glue this right on top. So I'm gonna stagger these feathers, wrap this guy around. And as you can see, this one's just a little bit higher than the last one. And really, if 3 of them work out for you and you don't need to use the 4th one, that's fine, but at least we have it cut. Because I'm thinking almost after I glue this guy on, that might be high enough, and then I could stop at 3. I'm going to go ahead and do 4, though, just because I really like them to look like they're full with, like, bushy feathers. And I'll pause the video for a second, come back to Okay, I've got the main part of the body feathers done. These guys would probably need some curl. You could take, like, a nice round pencil, or a colored pencil actually works perfectly. And you could give these guys a little curl up, and you could do that with all your 4 layers. And instead of making this paper look flat, it'll make those feathers look fluffy and give the owl kind of like a fluffy looking texture, okay? I'm gonna do that at the end, maybe once all this glue is dry and once I have these feathers glued on as well. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna make more feathers on the body that are kind of big. They're gonna go over the other layers of feathers. And then these guys I'm gonna curl at the edges as well. And you can see on this one, I did do some curling down here to make the feathers look more fluffy. In order to make these other big feathers, like kind of like the fluffy chest feathers, I'm going to take a piece of sheet music, and you could do this again with just white or gray paper or newspaper, and I'm going to fold it up like 4 to get like 4 layers about. You know what, I'm going to fold it one more time, then I only have to do it once, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to do like 2 feathers here, 2 feathers here, 2 and 2. So there'll be 4 on each side. So if I fold it one more time, I'll only need to draw 1 feather, cut out once. So here, I'm just going to fold this here, and I'm going to draw a feather that is rounded at the top, pointy at the bottom, kind of like a giant teardrop shape, if you will, or a raindrop. So there's my big fluffy chest feather. The nice thing is now I'm going to cut out once and end up with 8 of them to be glued on, okay? Make sure that if you're gluing these on, you don't glue this one that has the pencil lines on it. I always hate to see pencil lines on a finished one because it just looks kind of unfinished. And these pieces of paper will be very delicate and hard to erase pencil lines. So just make sure that this one feather is glued down like that. Okay, now once you have your feathers cut, instead of putting glue on each individual feather, which takes a while, I just go in here and I do a little arc of glue on the front. The chest kind of dips down in the center where the chest feathers are. So I always like these to go a little higher on the edges. I also look for like the prettiest side of the sheet music when I'm gluing these down, kind of like that. Of course, later on, I'm going to give these guys a little bit of a curl so that they also don't look so flat. If you like the way they look flat, though, I suppose that works too. Okay, I'm going to glue this guy here on the inside. This one over on the edge. Lots of pretty music notes and treble clefs and things in there now. Okay, and then I'll do the same on the back. I'll do a little arc, glue my 2 feathers, arc, glue my 2 feathers. Okay, so I've got all the feathers of the sheet music attached. And again, I like to use sheet music or newspaper because it gives the feathers just a little bit of a grayish tone. And a lot of baby owls or snowy owls kind of have like a mixture of white and gray. So my next step is going to be to create this heart that kind of creates the darkened chest area on the owl. To do that heart, you could use like a light purple, light blue, you could use a gray. Honestly, you could use like a dark purple or dark blue. I think I'm going to go with gray on this one. In order to make a heart that's symmetrical or exactly the same on both sides, you're just going to fold this paper in half. You could fold it in half diagonally or horizontally, however you guys want to do that. And then you could draw half the heart right here. And you can make this as big as you want. I'm going to make a big heart on this guy. Kind of come down like that. I'm going to cut, end up with a perfectly symmetrical heart for the chest. Okay, I'm gonna glue this guy down right here. My paper clip area is probably dry. I'm just gonna scoot these paper clips up though, just to be sure. I hate when glue's not quite dry and things come apart. That's a pain. All right, come on, paper clip. Scoot up there. Sorry, technical difficulty. It's hooked on the back. Okay, all right, there we go. So now I'm gonna glue this heart down here. It's gonna kind of create that crest that you see on an owl's chest. Make sure you're gluing pencil lines down again. Looks like there was some leftover glue on there anyway. Okay, so I'm going to glue the heart down. My next step will be beak, and I think that's it. On the head feathers, there's numerous different things you could do. Let me go ahead and get the beak made really quickly, and then I wonder if I want to do eyes first or beak first. I think I'm going to set the eyes down just so I know about where they're going to go. Yeah, maybe I will glue the eyes first. So with the bottle cap eyes, you'll definitely want to use hot glue for these because Elmer's glue, it just won't stick. They're too smooth on the backside. They'll just pop right off. And then for the eyes, you can have eyes that are looking straight out at you, or you can have eyes that are looking to the side, looking at one another like they're cross-eyed. I think I'm going to do eyes looking over to the side. So I'm going to draw my 2 half circles kind of on the edge here. I really like to give them a glare on their eyes. So I draw in a big circle, or like a C because it's right on the edge. And then I'm going to color around that area when I'm going to fill in the eye. I'm not going to fill that in dark. Now, with your Expo or Sharpie markers or permanent markers, if those guys don't show up well, you might just want to grab like a different Sharpie because once they've drawn on a smooth surface, they kind of like stop working. See, I'm kind of like taking the color away. I'm going to go in with one of my thicker Sharpies later and kind of touch those up. But for now, I'm just going to glue them in place where they belong. I think these paper clips are good to go. I could always attach it back later if I need to. I'm going to get this hot glue gun in here. Okay. Put a little glue on the back of this guy. Oops. Put this in place like right here at the top of the heart. This guy's going to kind of be looking up and to the side. I'm going to glue this guy in place. Once the hot glue's on there, I can always rotate it a little bit if I need to because it doesn't set right away. Oh, get over there, glue gun. Oh, okay, there we go. All right, now his eyes are looking up into the corner. Now I'm going to make a beak really quickly. For the beak, I just cut a diamond shape. You can make the beak out of any color. This one has a white beak. I suppose you could make like a hot pink beak if you wanted to. This one I'm going to make out of yellow. Again, I'm going to fold this yellow in half. I like to fold it on a diagonal for this one because I'm going to use this corner to be the beak. And you can make a big beak or a little beak. I'm just going to go in and cut like a curve that just snips off that corner. And this is going to make the shape for my beak. I like for the beak to kind of go up between the eyes a little bit like that. And one more thing I like to do is I like for it to stick off the face a little bit. So after I glue it on, I kind of give it a pinch like that so it kind of pokes off. On this one, before I attached it, I did a Sharpie outline on the edge of the beak, which you could also do if you wanted the beak to show up a little bit more. I feel like on this one, since I'm doing the yellow over the gray, it's going to show up plenty well anyway. So at the top of my beak, I'm just going to do a little V of the Elmer's glue and press this guy right between the eyes and kind of pinch it like that. I'm also trying to press down at the back of it just to make sure that glue is touching the surface. Okay, I think that guy's going to stay in place just fine. At this point, you can start attaching feathers to the top of the head. Really, anything you want to do to the top of the head. You could just do big feathers going up. You could have curly feathers. You could make them look swirly like hair. You could do really long ones and curl them, like if you wanted to cut long strips from that sheet music. I think I'm just going to cut out another feather from this guy that I already had folded from earlier and glue on a couple feathers up there. And then I'll show you guys finishing touches like bow ties, bows, top hats, things like that.